Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, and wherever you're listening. Joined with me, as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
And Mr. Joe Whitaker.
You're right, Tom, yeah.
And thankfully, with full audio but low quality visual, it's Jamie Page.
How you doing?
Alan's not with us this evening. He is busy with a family thing, I think. But we do, in his place, have a much better and much more interesting person. And that is, as you all know, Chad from ManCrafting. Hi, Chad. How you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Good. Well, with you just a second, Chad. We're just going to run through our normal weekly shout-outs and blurb. So very quickly, this week's shout-outs and thank yous go to Rovers Custom Woodworking, Know What Mum Knows, Jim Dockrell, Ian Brody Smith, Andrew McQuillan, and Ragtie. So big shout-out to them and huge thank you to everyone who liked the previous episode. I don't know why you would, because it was obviously Jamie. No, I'm only kidding, Jamie. Don't worry. Don't forget you can head over, listen to us on all the normal platforms, iTunes, SoundCloud, rate us, get in touch on all social medias and stuff. We also have some sponsors this week. So I'm going to do my most professional, bestest sponsor voice. So today's that was a good start, wasn't it? Today's podcast is brought to you in part by the Toolmasters Association. Save, build, and learn. To find out more about the Toolmasters Association, sign up, visit izzyswan.com/Toolmasters. And also by Yorkshire Grit. The wood turner's abrasive paste. For more info, go over to www.yorkshire-grit.com. Both of those links will make sure Jamie does something in the descriptions. And you can also visit our website, makersinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors. Oh, I'm going to have to try and improve on that.
But we're not done yet. Jamie,
What?
Isn't there something that we should mention about the Makers Central event that's taking place next year?
Yes, we are actually the official sponsor. No, we're the official podcast of Makers Central. Now, for people that are unfamiliar, which is probably 1 or 2 of you that are out there, because it's quite a big event happening at the NEC in Birmingham over in the UK next year on the 5th of 6th of May, 2018. It's a huge event put on by Nick Zametti of NZ Woodturning. And there's going to be many makers there, from Peter Brown, Jimmy DeResta, Izzy Swan, Heath Knuckles, Ben and Jesse Ueda, Jim's and stuff, Steve Twidell, myself, Chris, Richard, Joe, and possibly Alan. And even Chad will be there. It's going to be massive. So you can find that out at makercentral.co.uk for more information on that as well.
But that's not makercentral.com, is it?
No, it's definitely not com.
It's the .co.uk.
Yeah, makercentral.co.uk.
That's awesome. And I think that at least I feel very humbled that we happen to be the official podcast of that. That's awesome.
Yep. And all tickets are available right now.
That is pretty cool. I was hoping we might get like free tickets or something like that, but having we've all already bought them anyway, it doesn't really make any difference. So either way.
I already bought mine, so I don't think that's good timing there.
Rock on. Just like Jamie, late to the party as always.
Whatever, that's all right.
Yeah.
Sure. So do we have any random listener questions this week, Chris?
Yes, we do. And this could be a very lengthy question, but I'm not going to make it one because the way the question was asked went into very many different facets. So the question was, for everybody here today, do you have a personal favorite video that you have put out? Now, he listed a lot of qualifications. You know, which one was you had the most fun with? Which one do you think was your best? Which one do you think was produced the best? But I'll just leave it up to you. Do you guys have a favorite video that you've ever produced and put out, and which one was it?
off the top of my head, I don't have any kind of great video production quality stuff, as anyone that's watched any of my videos would probably agree. But the one I had the most fun with, the one I had the most fun with actually was kind of goes against the grain of most of my videos. I was basically clowning around. I think it was my 100th video or my 1 year on YouTube video or something like that. It was around the time that the whole Frozen Let It Go video came out, and it was just basically me clowning around and making like this pink stepping stool. But it was a lot of fun. So, you know, if you want to see me clowning around to the nth degree, then that's probably one to watch. But
do you remember the name of that video? So people want to look it up.
It was something. I think it was called the Pink Stepping Stool or the Frozen Stool or something like that. It was quite a while ago. Cool,
Jamie.
I think my favourite one is probably the How to Powder Coat a Yeti. I think, which was this one. And
why is that?
There's a couple of reasons for that. Is one, because I was over in Chad's shop at the time when I done it, and it's the first time I'd ever done any sort of powder coating whatsoever. So, and there's
actually the best video production of all your videos.
It is, and there's another reason why. The best reason, the best edited version of any of my videos, because Chad edited it.
Well, I don't want to skip our guest. So, Chad, what about you?
Oh, I guess actually the one I like the best right now is the one I just did for Fab 42. It's a rocket stove, and it's welding and putting together a rocket stove. I like my powder coating videos, and they've done really well for me. But you know, I enjoy a lot of other things other than powder coating, so it's just part of what I do.
Awesome. All right, Joseph, you're up.
Well, I had to look back through my old videos to actually see what would actually stand out. I always think that the last thing you make should be your favourite, but the one that gave me the most enjoyment was the surprise engagement ring box that I made, mainly because I didn't think it through, and I was just inundated with messages of congratulations on my engagement. Like, no, this was just a random idea. I'm single, like it's not. So yeah, when I had like 100 emails, it's like, oh god, I should have thought this through. I should have mentioned it in the video. So that's why.
Well, I'm gonna go with Richard. I'm gonna go with the one the videos that I've had the most fun with, and it would be any of the Halloween videos I put out, because I absolutely love the Halloween. And I'm not even saying that they're actually even good. I just had a great time doing them. But my absolute favorite video that I've ever done has to be the flat pat challenge. Do you guys remember that when that happened? Yeah. I did a collaboration with Matt Brander and Jason McGinn, and we all went about trying to make a beer mug out of wood. And there are some kind of like Easter eggs in the video that I did that I thought were kind of cool, but it was just the fact that I got the chance to play around with those guys and work through the build with them, and I had a great time making that video. So I don't even remember what the name of it was. I think it was called Making a Wooden Tankard is the name of the video, but I mean, yeah, I just had fun because it was a collaboration and we were just goofing around and having a good time.
They're usually the best sort of entertaining videos for ourselves, because it does sometimes, I mean, I feel sometimes it gets a bit sort of
too serious.
Yeah. But cool. Okay. Well, that means I should probably introduce you, Chad. So as I always am always honest with our guests, I don't know you very well, and I am subscribed to your channel, but I haven't watched very many of your videos that most of our regular listeners won't be surprised for me to say. But who does really apart from the awesome mugs, which I still haven't got, by the way, Jamie, tell us about yourself. What do you do? What's your thing?
Well, you know, like most makers, I'm not a woodworker specifically or a powder coating guy. I tend to fall into that because that's the thing that took the most of my views on my channel. I probably close to 1 million views just on powder coating alone, maybe more. Other things. I mean, I'm a tinkerer. I like to try to fix things, which I get the opportunity to do more frequently than I would like. Let's see. I've done a lot of welding videos. They've done pretty well. And the woodworking is actually the thing that kind of got me into YouTube, but it's not the thing that I'm by far known for.
I mean, so what do you enjoy? I mean, that's quite a broad, to say woodworking, then welding, powder coating. They're fairly either very specific or very kind of generic pigeonholes, I guess. What do you enjoy most? Is it specifically the welding, or
currently right now I think I enjoy welding the most. I think powder coating's kind of become the thing that I have to do, and welding is the thing that I get to do for fun. And woodworking, same thing. I get to do that for fun. I really enjoy turning on a lathe. That's a tremendous amount of joy and pleasure for me.
Go on, Jamie. I know you're dying to jump in after the turning thing. Are we going to talk about scroll saws, or are we going to dive straight in with the lathe?
I knew as soon as he said lathe, I was going to burst out laughing. He hasn't been able to turn on his lathe because I broke it.
I'm joking.
It's as simple as that.
Jamie, don't feel bad.
I don't.
How did you break his lathe?
Richard broke my scroll saw, and he don't feel bad, so I'm just like Richard. No remorse.
I was put up to it. So come on, Chad. Tell us the story of the wrath of Jamie and your lathe.
Well, so Jamie came to Atlanta for the 2017 Atlanta Woodworking Show. He was sponsored by Tool Masters, which is also a sponsor of your podcast. Izzy Swan is a tremendously generous individual, as probably anybody who's familiar with him already knows. So I'm also a part of Tool Masters, and when Jamie came over, I was kind of his, sponsor in Atlanta, and he stayed with us.
Oh, you poor man! You poor man! Did you?
Mark and Jamie stayed with me, and I had a great time. I enjoyed having them here. And I'm not one of those people that's real protective of my tools for the most part. I know some people, it's like, hands off or lose your life kind of thing. Yeah. But I get a lot of enjoyment out of other people using my tools. And realistically, Jamie is a much more advanced turner than I am. I've turned probably 15 things, and one of them was a complete disaster. I actually almost knocked myself out. So, I thought this would be a great opportunity to see somebody who's done a little more turning than me. Both Mark and Jamie are much more advanced at turning. So I let Jamie turn. I was videotaping, and probably, I don't know, almost towards just about before we finished turning, the bowl that I just held up, which is on this piece here, came flying off the lathe, and it bounced off the window, and fortunately didn't break the window, but it went flying at me after that. And I wish I'd had my camera on at the moment it happened, because that would have been spectacular video. But we were taking some really cool shots. I mean, Jamie was doing, with that bowl, he was doing some really great streams of wood coming off of it in slow motion. It was amazing. But I think we had turned off the lathe, and he went to go turn it on. I think he hit the reverse switch before actually turning it on, and not realizing that it was turning in reverse. When he hit it with the tool, it eventually
spun right off the spindle.
Yeah, and spun off the spindle. And so the reason I have this spindle here is because I need to replace it. I need to take the one that's on the lathe off and put that one on. And there's no YouTube videos out there showing how to do it. The directions didn't come with it, just that spindle. So I've been kind of lackadaisical about getting into it, but I want to, and I'm going to do a video on it. So hopefully that will happen in the next week or two. I'm under pressure now. I've just said it live on the internet.
What kind of lathe do you have, Chad? Because I mean, there may be some people out there that may have the same kind of lathe that may have a clue.
I have a Jet 1221 VS, variable speed.
Okay.
Also has reverse.
Don't I know it?
Okay.
If anyone else has taken apart that piece, even if it wasn't for the same reason, please get in touch with me. I would love any input.
I mean, this is an obvious question. Have you contacted Jet at all to see if? I mean, they must have people that at least do maintenance.
I could actually take it. I could actually take it to a location, and they could do it for me. I just, I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I wanted to do it myself.
No, I blame you.
I'm guessing you didn't have the Jamie Page insurance then.
Well, it was under warranty, so they sent me the part for free, which they have spectacular customer service. So if anybody has a jet lathe and they have an issue, definitely, if it's in the first year for sure, give them a contact. They'll be glad. I mean, I sent them a picture. I told them what part it was, and they sent me the part like in 2 days.
Good to know that after Jamie have covered.
Yep. Yeah. No costs incurred, so all's good.
I mean, that's I guess what sets the men from the boys in any industry in terms of how companies treat their customers.
Oh yeah,
that can make or break a customer at the end of the day. So they're always looking for positive things. From
absolutely.
People.
Well, I think that speaks a lot more towards why Jamie Page is with us today and why he didn't make an excuse to not be here, because he was on the hook for that. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
No, I would not have ever held anybody. If my tool breaks, that it breaks, and I'll take care of it. But when you let somebody use your tool, unless they're willing to pony up and they say I'm paying for it, you let them use it. So you're responsible.
Joe, don't go there. Well, Chad, you're
the one who has to pay for it anyway.
Oh my God, Chad, if you are a very generous man, because I'm telling you right now, I guess I am one of them protective people you're talking about. Because if you walk into my shop, and I think you know what you're doing, but you eventually break my tool, you're on the hook for it, man. I'm gonna want you to replace that freaking tool. So you're a lot nicer guy than I am. I don't know. God love you. But we need to change the subject and just get off the fact of people playing with our tools. Because Joe's about ready to bust a gut over there, and I know it's coming. I just think we need to move.
So what you're saying is that you're very protective of your tool.
Yeah,
you want people coming into your shop and playing with it. Okay.
Because if you come into my shop and play with it and break it, I am not going to like you for the rest of my life.
While we're on that subject, boxes or breaks?
Commando.
Commando.
Oh.
That's my boy. That is like the answer that elevates you to the top of Everest. You are the man.
All right.
and that for sure. That for sure is going to increase any premium for somebody coming in and playing with your tools. So let's explore. I mean, I really want to get into talking about the powder coating, primarily because I've already contacted you via Instagram and said I really want a mug, and can you bring it over when you come to do it? But I won't bring that. I'm not going to talk about that.
But you
just so you know, Joe, when I send over the next shipment that I send to Jamie, I will include yours in that shipment. That's a surprise. You're surprised, right? I didn't want you to have to wait like.
It was a very, very. I think the connection dropped out there, so I didn't quite catch. But I wanted to talk about welding briefly. I'm coming back to the powder coating thing because I'm quite interested. I know very little about powder coating, and I'm quite interested in the whole process and all the rest of it. But what kind of welding? You say you do that for fun?
Yes.
Are you a TIG, MIG, stick, arc?
Yeah, I'm a rank
all of the
amateur. I'm not the expert on welding at all, but I do MIG welding, and I've actually got a couple of welders, maybe 3, and I love welding. I just love the way when you're heating the metal and the wires feeding, and you got to pull the metal, and it's like using a hot glue gun, and the 2 parts come together. It's just amazing to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Flash dance on in the background.
Yeah.
I like the way you liken it to using a hot glue gun. I seem to remember most of my MIG welding in the past, and this is going back a long time. I don't remember there being so much splatter and mess and little dots and kind of burns with a hot glue gun as with a MIG welder.
Well,
so
that's
you
a
must
good
be
point.
a lot better at it.
I don't wear a mask and I don't wear gloves and I don't, with a hot glue gun. But true, with welding, you definitely want the protective equipment or you're going to pay the price. Do not, under any circumstances, do not weld wearing Crocs. As a matter of fact, don't do anything in life wearing Crocs.
Are you listening to this, Joe?
No,
they're not a sponsor, are they?
yeah, I'm also hoping that Phil Pinsky isn't listening, or is actually listening. So
I told him not to do anything in them too.
Yeah, don't weld in Crocs. But you said you had a couple or three, and well, there's a couple which is two, and there's three which is several. But I'm not going to pick on you, but I just figured there'd be a couple of Nazis out there that might. What did you buy, like a beginner set, then step up to a mid-range set, and then decide I'm going to go ahead and do this full time because I really love it? I mean, what are you looking at as far as the welders that you own?
Good question. Okay, so I originally bought the Harbor Freight 90 amp welder, and a lot of people feel like it's sufficient. And the first one I bought, I thought, this thing's, it's doing the job, it's good. And I actually welded something for my dad on a tractor, and it actually outlasted the tractor. So I was actually very happy with that one. Unfortunately, I decided to tinker, and I had seen a video that said I could change it from AC to DC or DC to AC, whatever. And it required some rewiring and a bridge rectifier and a new capacitor. Well, I videotaped the whole thing, and I get to the end and it doesn't work. So I started doing some troubleshooting, and I realized that the bridge rectifier I bought from China wasn't working. And so I had some orders to fulfill for some welding, and I was under the gun. I said, you know what? The orders exceed the price of a new welder, a new 90 amp welder from Harbor Freight. I'll just go pick another one up, and I'll fix this later, because it was going to take probably a week or two to get another bridge rectifier. So I went to Harbor Freight. I got a new one, got it all set up. I started welding, and as it turns out, I don't have an example here, but all of my welds were surface welds. And what that meant was they were kind of stuck together like glue. But metal to metal glue is okay, but it's not long term. It'll eventually break apart, and that's what happened. There was no depth to the weld, and so I had to redo a bunch of stuff. I actually had to ship some new stuff out, and I was very disappointed in that second one. I took it back. At the same time that I was having the issues, as a matter of fact, I didn't send anything out. I realized that there was a problem. I called the customers and told them I was going to hold off on shipping, and I had a new welder on the way. And I ordered one from Eastwood, and it was the MiG 135. And I did a review on it. I did a little video on it, and it was so amazing to me. It was actually the thing that made me fall in love with welding, was using this MiG 135. It was such a quantum difference between that and the 90 that I felt like, wow, I'm not that bad a welder. I just thought I was a horrible welder. And all of a sudden, I'm making these nice beads, the actual metals holding together. I mean, it was just amazing. And after that, I decided I wanted to get into TIG welding and some aluminum welding. And so I eventually, as the money came in from my welding, I bought the Lincoln Electric MP210. So it does multiple processes. It'll do regular MIG welding. It'll do flux core welding, which is also kind of MIG welding. It'll do TIG welding, and then also it has a gun for welding aluminum.
And, Chad, is that Lincoln Electric? Is that a 220?
It can be 220 or 110, and I have it set up currently for 110 because that's just, without having to put out a new outlet for that specific thing. It's just the easiest.
No, I got it. I don't have 220 in my shop either, so I was wondering.
Yeah.
So none of the welders you own are 220.
They all can be. The MiG 135 can be 220 or 110, as well as the MP 210. But I don't have anything set up as a 220.
Got it. Okay, that's cool. Are you using gas with that last one?
Yeah, I just upgraded to gas last year, and man, what a difference! It's really nice.
It beats flux, that's for sure. I'm sure. Okay, cool.
Flux is just really dirty.
We've got a couple of questions before we get to the origin story. This one's from the Redsmith. A quick question for Chad. Have you ever tried forging metal? And if no, would you like to?
Okay, so that's a great question. I'm one of those people. I'm ADD or ADHD, as they say, and I love to do multiple things. So I do have a forge. I have set it up and used it with a good friend of mine who was on Forged in Fire, and I did a video on that. I've forged one thing. I regret to say that I have not had it out yet. I want to build an area where I can forge and not have to worry about anything. So that's kind of the thing that's kept me from really getting my forge out and playing with it more. But I am extremely interested in forging. And I watch Gerald's stuff with absolute fascination. I love watching all of his builds.
Okay, since the crazy Canuck isn't here, origin story. Where did it all begin for you?
Oh gosh. So in when you say when it all began, are you talking about birth, or how far back should I go?
You can start there. No, I mean, we know that you was in the military. Was you making in there?
Okay, so I mean, I've lived all over the United States. My parents divorced when I was very young. I was born in Minnesota, moved to Colorado. From Colorado, I went with my parents divorced when they lived in Colorado, and I've been everywhere. I've been to Washington State, Arizona, Connecticut, Maine, I think. There's states that I couldn't even tell you because I was too young to remember. But we moved quite a bit. Moved back to Minnesota, eventually to Arizona, and then from Arizona I moved back to Georgia with my dad. And I've lived here off and on most of my adult life and through high school. So I'm pretty rooted here. I would be happy to move, but I've just got so much family, and my business, my day business is here. Obviously making is like most everybody else a hobby, which has kind of turned into a business, but it is definitely a hobby. Let's see. I was in the military. I went overseas. I was in Korea and did TDY to a couple of places like Germany and England briefly. I've touched my feet in a lot of different countries. I've been very fortunate to travel at your expense, you taxpayers. Thank you. And went back to college, got my degree, moved on, went into business with my next door neighbor, and I've owned a pest control supply business for almost 30 years, I want to say, 25, 26 years. And I've had a pest control company. I'm an ACE, which is an acronym, Associate Certified Entomologist. I achieved that probably 3 or 4 years ago as a way to kind of re-engage myself into my day business because I was getting to a point where I was just burned out. And it helped for a while, but I'll tell you the thing that's brought me the most joy is actually making things and getting into the shop and doing that kind of thing. It's absolutely my passion now.
Well, Chad, I know there's some stories behind your military career, but I'm not going to ask you to go into them unless you want to. So what I will ask you is, since you just said that your making career is where you find the most joy, what surprised you most about getting into this kind of I guess I want to say the community that we have? I mean, were there any surprises when you first started entering, like doing your YouTube channel? Because I mean, every single one of us started a YouTube channel. We started out with 0 subscribers, and your YouTube channel has grown very nicely, and because you do nice work. But I mean, because of that, things happen. What surprised you the most?
Okay, so I have a little bit different experience than probably most people, because a lot of people, they start off like just putting a channel up that are, I don't know. I don't know what most people do. I shouldn't even say that. I started off doing a lot of just nonsense, whatever was interesting to me, and I'd put it up on my channel. I've got a lot of videos, but not all of those videos have anything to do with making. But before that, I had, or at the same time, maybe, at the same time, I was putting up videos for my business, and a lot of my, it's on another channel. A lot of those videos are me in demonstrating how to do things, and I was teaching people through that channel for a long time. Well, I put a video up on my own personal channel, which was under the name Bugman Chad. So when I did this, I wasn't ManCrafting, I was Bugman Chad, and I used that as my what do you call it, your vanity address or whatever. And I wish I hadn't now, because it's ManCrafting, right? Well, I put up a video teaching people how to fix their tailgate on their truck, or maybe it was there was another one I did, how to replace the engine fuse. And I started getting a lot of comments saying, hey man, you saved me so much money, I really appreciate what you're doing, that kind of thing. And it kind of feeds your ego a little bit, right? So I was happy to put that kind of stuff up, because YouTube for me has been an endless source of knowledge. Anytime I want to know how to do something, I go to YouTube. Well, I started doing the Yeti thing. I bought a Yeti for myself. I had some Tervis cups prior to that, and they got destroyed in the dishwasher. Well, a Tervis cup's like 20 bucks. You go to the store, you buy one, it's $20. Even today, and there's really no knockoffs of Tervis. I don't know how they've managed that, but nobody's knocked them off. And they're 20 bucks. You want one that's, got any kind of cute little sticker in it or whatever, any kind of, you're going to spend 20 bucks. So I had these like 6 Tervis tumblers. They were all warped and melted. And I said, you know what? My mother-in-law is not going to be able to destroy a stainless steel tumbler. I said, I'm going to make the jump. And this is when Yeti had just started coming out with these tumblers. And I was like, $39.99 seems like a lot of money to spend. That's a lot of, but I was like, to replace 6 tumblers, that's going to be 120 bucks. So I bought this, and I was carrying it around at work, and all my guys were like, you're going to lose that. You're going to misplace it. Somebody's going to walk out of here with it. And they kept kind of harassing me about it. So at the time I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to customize it, put my name on it, something, so that nobody will take it. And so the very first cup I did, I sandblasted it. So if you look at my logo, you'll actually see, let's see if I can show you. The logo shows a guy sandblasting.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a welder, but it's a sandblaster. And probably the first 500 cups I did were all sandblast etched with, I used vinyl lettering with a Cricut vinyl cutter. So I bought a $40 cup. I bought a $100 sandblaster off of Craigslist. I bought a $200 Cricut from Joanne Fabrics, which, as a man, it's kind of, you're the rare guy that goes in there feeling like you're in your home element. It's not Harbor Freight.
That's penny in the comic book store.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking anybody who goes in there and buys stuff. I love going into Joanne Fabrics, but honestly, it was like one of the first times I'd been in there, and I was very out of my element. I was out of my element. So down the line,
wait, Chad, I'm gonna interrupt you, because I've been to Joanne Fabrics. I've walked into the store because I was looking for some faux leather for a project I was doing way back in the day. And did you get the same kind of looks that I got when you walked in there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Because you walk into
the only thing worse than being a customer there is being an employee. as a man, As a man.
But when I walked in there, all of a sudden, all these eyes started shifting towards me. Like, what's this guy all about? Why is he here? Yeah.
What's this creeper doing?
Exactly.
So one night, my best friend and I had kind of gotten into this, and we were doing it. He got excited after seeing mine, and he bought one, and then we did the sandblasting on his. And between the two of us, we've been in this area for a long time, so we have a lot of friends, a lot of connections, and we started showing these things off, carrying them around, and not really showing them off to say, hey, look what I did, but just, we were drinking out of them, people would see them. And people, hey, can you do that for me? Hey, can you do that for me? And before you knew it, we were in a full-blown part-time business, and spending a lot of nights in my dining room with a Cricut vinyl cutter and printing out patterns to put onto a cup. We'd put the pattern with the vinyl on the cup, and we'd sandblast the image that was left behind. And we're in the dining room, and my wife, and my best friend's wife were in the living room watching something, and they started ragging on us, saying, "Oh, look at our boys in there doing their arts and crafts," and that kind of thing. And we were like, we were kind of started blowing out our chests. We're like, hey, we're using a Cricut vinyl cutter, but we're gonna sandblast. This is manly arts and crafts. And he's like, yeah, we're ManCrafting. And immediately I went and I looked, and nobody had that, and I trademarked it, and got the, I don't know what I did. I got a logo made, and immediately started riding the ManCrafting concept. And it's people like the logo, people like the concept. I sometimes feel a little uneasy about the fact that I'm doing something that I consider manly, and there's lots of women who do it better than me. So it's not exclusive. It's not I'm not trying to knock women in that. It was me and another guy trying to be manly, and we were using a Cricut vinyl cutter. So that's the origin of the name, and kind of how we got started in the sandblasting and all that kind of stuff.
I love that you started out with the whole stereotypical, I guess, sort of male female thing,
right?
Because I mean, most people know now my other half is a knitter and crocheter, and she is way better at coming up with concepts and ideas and all that kind of stuff than I am. I'm not artistic at all. You give me a drawing and I can make a reasonable hash out of creating it, but to actually put the things together, no, not a chance. And it's great when you're sort of joking about going in the fabric store and getting the vinyl cutter. I have exactly the same experience going into yarn shops to buy, there's like a million types of knitting needle, actually. I had no idea. Yeah. I had absolutely no idea. And you get that same example. But it's the way that other kind of disciplines, I mean, you've already talked about the welding, the woodworking, turning. There's ideas coming from not just our own community in terms of those sort of, air quotes, manly things, but you take all the other different making genres, there's so many ideas to bring in from and I think that's
I think the big thing is that none of it's exclusive by gender. Obviously, there's no line. If I want to crochet, I should feel comfortable to crochet. I think Izzy Swan has told me that he likes to knit, and there's no judgment there. There shouldn't be anyway. I think that whatever you want to do, whatever creative outlet you find that's kind of quelches that need to be creative, to get attention. And that's what it really is. For me, doing this, getting the attention that I get from it, it's amazing to me. There's not many things in my life that I've done that give me as much feedback from people. I'm not a super creative guy, but if you give me a guide and I can sandblast it or I can laser etch it, it looks amazing and people are super happy with it, and they don't realize that it's not me being a super artistic person, but inside of me there's that little kid that really wants to be artistic, that really wants to be able to sit down and draw an amazing picture or drawing. There's people that are probably watching right now, like Red Smith, somebody else that draws real well or does a lot of artistic stuff, Keith Decent, who I'm staying with in New York, up in New York for the Maker Faire. There's lots of people that are extremely creative, and I obviously have a little bit of envy for that skill. I don't have it, but man, with this laser cup or laser etching or sandblasting, I've all of a sudden become this creative guy.
It's kind of a common common theme, the willingness and the desire to create whatever it is, whatever the medium is. And I think that the guys will probably agree with me, and anyone that's listened to this for any length of time, we chose the Maker International to be as all inclusive as and encompassing as we possibly could.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
yeah, absolutely. And Chad, I mean, I don't know how to express this to you, except that since I was a kid, I was told I was creative, and I've always had that kind of gene within me, but I've never really expressed it as well as other people have, like the people you've mentioned, that you would consider to be very creative people. But I can tell you this, that I have friends who I initially thought, because when you're a kid, and people, your peers are telling you, wow, you are super creative. You feel like you're, in maturity, you feel like you're up on a pedestal. And
Right.
so it's like, and so you kind of start looking down on people, and which is wrong. But I mean, I was a kid. All right. But I had really close friends who did not have that kind of, that capability with them. And I brought them along with me. And I can tell you this is a fact. That creativity can be cultivated. You can cultivate creativity. It's not a matter of whether you were born with it or whether you were not. It's a matter of where and how far you want to pursue your desire. If you really want to go after being the next Picasso or the next artistic person that you can think of, then you have the ability within yourself, whether you think you're creative or not, to go there. All you need to do is to make the decision to take that path, and then things start to open up. It's not, I'm not going to say it's easy, because it's not. It really isn't. But it's there. And Chad, I can't imagine you not being a creative person with the work that you do. I mean, you've got to have like a huge amount of creativity that's probably unbottled. That you just need to.
I'm not saying I'm not creative. I'm just saying that I don't have the skills to like pick up a pencil and make art. I don't have the ability to pick up a guitar and play amazing music.
But what you have to understand about picking up a pencil and making art and picking up a guitar and playing great music is it takes a ton of friggin' practice. And it's always been, this has always been my because trust me, I was considered in my world when I was working, I was called a talent. And people go, oh, you have this God-gifted talent. There is no such thing as a God-gifted talent. I can tell you this right now. If you have a talent, now obviously there are people who have inclinations that are able to learn things faster than others. I mean, I'll grant you that. But there is nobody who becomes a peer in a community, whether it's music, art, whatever, without a ton of work behind the scenes. It's like when I was in the music industry, people would say, oh, this band is an overnight success. There's no such thing as an overnight success. These guys have probably been working for years to get to be what you consider to be an overnight success. So I'm just saying it just takes work.
I totally agree with you on that, Chris. As an adult looking back, I had friends in high school that today are comic book artists and various other careers in music, acting, for instance. And I see the work they've put in. I didn't see it when I was young. So like I had a friend named David Johnson. He used to sit next to me in art class, and this guy could pick up a pencil and he could reproduce any cartoon character that you could imagine. And this is a guy who spent probably half the hours in school drawing, plus the rest of the evening every day drawing, and I didn't. I spent maybe a couple hours a year trying to reproduce some of those cartoon characters and got frustrated and said, well, I have no talent for this. This guy's just born this way. But as an adult, I realized, this guy probably spent 10,000 hours drawing before he even left high school. And, he was hired by DC Comics and Marvel Comics, and I think he works for somebody. He's here in Atlanta now. I haven't seen him in a while, but he's working for somebody here in Atlanta, and I think it's Adult Swim or one of those cartoon, based companies, maybe TNT. And he's drawing and he's making a living doing it, and has made a good living doing it. And he's spent a lot of time. And the same thing with my friends that played music for a living. They were in their basement doing nothing social and
Yeah.
playing their guitar 5-6 hours a day. Whereas my parents,
practicing while you went to the football game and enjoyed the cheerleaders, and they didn't go to have that experience. They stayed home and practiced. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I did martial arts, and so that was where my time was spent. Or I was in football, and that's where my time was spent. They would be at home playing guitar, and I'd pick up the guitar, and I remember one of my friends in 8th grade was amazing at the guitar, Tommy. He was still amazing to this day, and he's put in the hours. My parents would bust my nuts to, pardon my language, to get a half an hour of practice in for class. And I just never got good at it. And I've tried many times to pick up the guitar and get better at it, but I just have never really done well.
There's one more thing I want to touch on before we draw the show to a close, and that's your ability to use a unicycle and juggle.
Okay.
I couldn't let that go. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but you used to actually race unicycles.
Okay, I have. So unicycling is something that I took on as an adult. Juggling I learned how to do when I was younger. I had a guy who was part of my church, my youth group. He had been in the military, and he was an entertainer on Armed Forces television, Olin the Magnificent. And he did all kinds of wild things. He'd put a screwdriver in his nose, and this big long screwdriver would disappear, and he could juggle. And I spent several hours learning how to juggle, and I had stepped on a unicycle many times as a youth and had horrible experiences. And in your head, when you watch somebody hop on a unicycle, it always looks easy, and you think, well, it can't be that hard. I've got good balance. It's not intuitive. It's counterintuitive, completely counterintuitive. Well, I was in a car accident, and I remember as a youth learning to juggle. And when you're learning to juggle, it's a very concentrated effort. You don't think about anything else until you've figured out how to get two balls in the air, 3 balls in the air, and it really takes your focus. Well, I had been in a really extreme car accident, and I was going through a lawsuit, and it was a very stressful time for my family. And I was like, I just have got to get out of this funk. And I was searching the internet looking for juggling equipment, because I thought, maybe if I picked up the juggling again, I could get my mind off of this stuff and focus on that. And while looking for juggling equipment, I came across a unicycle, and I thought, man, a unicycle has kicked my butt 3 other times. I've never been able to do it. So I ordered one off the internet, and I found, kind of like the woodworking community, a community of people who unicycle, and they all kept saying, if you just spend 45 minutes to 2 hours, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, you're going to be able to go 100 feet. And if you can do 100 feet, you can do 1,000. And it's not like a skateboard where you can hop on it and roll 100 feet, even if you're, the first time on a skateboard. There's not that quick return. It took a good 2 hours to figure it out. And once I got it, I could go 100 feet, I could go 1,000 feet. And ultimately, I got into competitive unicycling. I did the North American Unicycling competition, went up to Minnesota for that. I went to Iowa for it. And I've done a couple of different events. That's not something that I did a lot of, but what I did a lot more of was I unicycled for like the American Diabetes Association, the MS Society. I did a lot of fundraising through the unicycle. So when I put out a request for funds and I say, I'm going to unicycle for 24 hours, people are like, really? 24 hours? You're going to go out on a unicycle? Or I'm going to unicycle 100 miles, or I'm going to do 150 miles on a unicycle. People were inclined to donate to that effort a whole lot quicker than if I said I'm going to bicycle. Everybody can bicycle, but to see somebody on a unicycle for that kind of distance, it was a great way to raise funds for a lot of charities that I was passionate about.
So you took something that was unicycling, which was basically initiated because it was going to be therapeutic for you, and you turned that therapeutic thing that you needed into something that helped other people. Chad, Chad, that's freaking awesome.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was, and I have a lot of good friends to this day, even though I don't unicycle anymore. I actually had a severe accident. I broke my leg coming off of that unicycle, teaching somebody else how to unicycle. of all things. I broke my leg, and I was off my feet for almost a good 6 months, letting my knee heal. I didn't have a cast, but I had surgery. And to this day, my knee's still messed up, but I don't unicycle because I sold that it was a 36-inch tire. So if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see where I've unicycled. I've got pictures of me on this unicycle where the unicycle itself is almost as tall as I am. The tire is, 3 feet. I mean, it's up to my shoulder. So it's a big unicycle.
I was actually
kind of looks like a penny farthing without the back wheel.
That's insane. I was going to ask you actually, how many times whilst you were learning to unicycle did you absolutely shatter one shin or another on the opposite pedal? Because I've played on a unicycle for a very short period of time, and what put me off was every single time I thought I'd got it, bam, I'd just belt my shin, and no, I'm not going anywhere. This thing's a death trap.
Well, so the thing with unicycling, the great thing is that you generally fall on your feet. You don't generally fall on your butt, on your back, on your head. If you're on a bike and you hit the brakes, you're going over the top and you might hit your head. On a unicycle, you basically step off if you're falling. It's not, you're either falling off the back, you're falling off the front. Obviously, if your feet come off the pedals, you're going to whack your shin. That definitely happens. The biggest difference between unicycling and bicycling is when you start off on a bike, you put your foot pressure on the front pedal and you start pedaling forward. On a unicycle, to get on the unicycle, you actually put your pressure on the back pedal. And that's where the people make their biggest mistake, is they try to replicate what they learn on a bicycle, and it's the exact opposite. So you kind of get up on it by pushing down on the back pedal, and then you pedal forward. Whereas on a bike, you just pedal forward. So I can relate. Yeah, absolutely. We used to call it shin burger. We had pedals that had pins in them that would really shred your shins.
Put me off for life, I can tell you that. But do you know what? That goes back exactly to what you were saying about you've got to put the time in, you've got to put the effort in to get anywhere. And I think I managed to actually do one pedal revolution while sitting on the seat before. No, this is just not going to happen. But it wasn't a serious thing.
If you can do one revolution, you can do 10. And if you can do 10, you can do 100. It's just a matter of getting past that. And I'm in the same place with a guitar. I can play 3 or 4 chords consistently, even if I haven't picked up a guitar in years. So what's the difference between that and 6 or 8 or 10 or 12?
It's practice.
Yeah, it is.
Got me with writing. I can spell my first name, I can write my second name.
There you go. About time.
Jamie.
Eventually.
Well, Chad, man, it has been awesome talking to you tonight. I really enjoy your story. I know you have much more to tell, but we don't have to, unfortunately, have time to get into it tonight. But I mean, you make because you're currently making mugs, are you not?
I am, absolutely.
As a side business. So if somebody wants one of your mugs, where do they go?
They can actually go to my website now, ManCraftingTM.com. Steve Nielsen has been working on it in the background. And so if anybody needs any web services, definitely give him some love. He's done a great job. I think actually Steve does your website as well. Is that correct? So Steve's a good guy, and he's been extremely diligent working on that recently. I just moved it over to him and have him handle that. And he's been building my store. So people can, if there's not exactly what they want on the store yet, it's coming. They can certainly email me in the meantime, but ManCraftingTM.com. And yeah, I'd love to make a mug for whoever. How long we been on? What?
We got about 6 minutes left here, Chad.
6 minutes. Well, 6 minutes. Hey, I'll tell you what. Since we got 6 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and run one of these while we talk. Hopefully,
look at that! Look at that!
Wow,
Nice one.
Hopefully it won't be too disruptive. I've got it all set up, hopefully, and ready to go. If it screws up, oh well.
Well, Jamie, if I remember correctly, we have.
You're gonna hear a little beeping here for a second. Sorry.
That's all right, Chad. We'll live with it. But I mean, Jamie, if I remember right, I think we have one of these to give away next week, do we not?
Yeah, next week. Yeah, it's we have officially been podcasting for a year as of next week, so we have one to give away.
Can't believe you
as
made it
of
to,
next week.
Oh,
So
that's
I've
awesome.
been, yeah. So yeah, I will
Where'd you
have
get it?
officially. I don't know yet. I'll have to have a word with him.
Oh, okay. Hey, so
Um,
hey, since I'm on the show, let's just say this: once a month, I'd like to support your podcast rather than just with dollars. I want to support you with a cup, and what I'll do is once a month we'll give away a Makers International podcast cup every month, once a month, and that's open to anybody that's one of your viewers. If they're overseas, I'll be glad to cover the shipping on that.
Oh, Chad, that is freaking
insane.
awesome.
that's
That's
impressive.
very generous.
All right, everybody who's listening or watching, let's give this man a round of applause. Chad, thank you so much. Chad, thank you very much.
That is pure.
I know a lot of
heartfelt.
times giveaways are restricted, and I know that a lot of overseas people, and of course half of this group here is overseas, so I don't want to restrict it. To ship a cup to Jamie, I've already found out is $25. To ship a cup to Alan is $25. So I'm guessing that it's probably similar pretty much anywhere I ship it, other than the United States. So I can suck it up. It's probably going to be 50-50. I'm guessing.
Well, Chad, the only person I just want to point out, the only person you've skipped that you haven't shipped one to is in the United States. Is in the United States.
Chris Dude has never. No, that's not true. Joe doesn't have one.
Chad, I'm just kidding.
Richard doesn't have one yet.
I saw an
But
opportunity to make myself feel like the poor young child, and I took it. So whatever.
Hey, I could probably put a B on one for you.
No, don't do that. Don't.
Put an NY on one instead.
What does B stand for? Boston? I'm just
That's
kidding.
Boston. Yeah, that's
I'm kidding. I know.
Oh,
Boston.
it's
Send the
Boston.
Yankees one.
Boston.
Boston. It's Boston.
Somebody mute Joe.
I was just going to say, is there like an opposite side of that Boston coin that looks like
Yankees.
Wait. If Joe, I'm going to kick you out of here because I have control.
But seriously, Chad, that is. I had no idea you were going to come out with that. That is absolutely insanely generous and fantastic. So, thanks for doing that. That's amazing.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and I wish you guys the best of success with this. I know you just got started.
Thanks, man.
No,
I'll put your
almost a year
website
now, right?
details all over on our website as well.
Awesome.
Richard, we've really got to wrap this up. So let's get to the shout outs and let's get this thing done because we're already about an hour and a half into it.
I can just feel Joe's stare on the back of my neck actually. So I guess I always hate this. This is the worst part of every show, particularly when we've got somebody on talking, because I completely lost track of where I am and people start writing on me to finish up. So what are you currently watching at the moment, Chad? Have you got anyone that you want to give a little plug or a shout out to?
I'll tell you, he's already got a fairly good following, so a lot of people probably already know him. But I really enjoy watching Rory Smith, and he's the Dirty Smith on YouTube. He's got some amazing videography. He probably just was born knowing how to do it, but he's got really great videography, and he's extremely skilled. His family has been blacksmithing for a long time, so he's not a backyard blacksmith like I am, but phenomenal, and he does some classes. I think even Red Smith has shouted him out for educating him how to do something, and hey, the turkey's thermometer just popped. But that's who I'm watching. Somebody else go on and I'll clean this up.
Wicked. What about you, Joe? Are you busy watching anyone on YouTube or making anything exciting at the moment you want to tell us about?
Well, still gluing up that plywood shelving unit, just taking a long time, like gluing up white, flush trim, that kind of thing. YouTube, there's a new channel started, Reality Tattoo TV. Links in the description, local to me. He's actually done my tattoo as well. So really want to support that channel. It looks like it's going to be a brilliant channel. So
Wicked. That's the guy that did your tattoo from going away, was it? Or have you had another one done?
Yeah, it was my very first one. I had a zip tattoo done over a scar on my stomach. So yeah,
right.
it was amazing. Man.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, what about you, Chris? Are you working on anything interesting or?
I'm working on, and this is going to be a first. I'm working on the Toolmasters Association, since they're sponsoring us. I'm trying to get involved in this month's challenge, and it's just to build a box. But I had specific I had specific requirements from my wife, so I'm trying to work around those to get that done. But yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. Whether I get it done, because I've got extenuating circumstances that are going on around me right now. So I don't know if I'll have a video in the next week or so. I'll try, but I don't know that's going to happen. It may be a couple weeks before I get one out, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get that in. But who I've been watching is Sean Rubino, and I'm gonna give Sean some serious love, because Sean Rubino, if you're not familiar with Sean, it is a seriously good woodworker. But he put out a really short video this week that will probably be helpful to a lot of people, and it was how to do seamlessly cover some plywood edges. If you try, consider if you're trying to do a chest of drawers, and you want to do it with a plywood, but you want to do it with a veneered plywood, something that might be like a maple or a walnut. You maybe have a walnut plywood that you're dealing with, but you don't want to leave that plywood edge. He shows you how to go about veneering that and getting it over with. And it's not, and Sean, forgive me for this, but I'm not shouting him out because I think it's the best quality video, but it's a very great instructional video on how to go about doing this, because I've done this what he's done before and I know it works. So I wouldn't do that if it wasn't. So if you have a chance, check out Sean Rubino. He has a video about if you're looking to do some veneering on plywood edges, he's got a great video out on this week.
Wicked. I mean, that's not a video that I've seen, because obviously you've only just mentioned it, but one thing I'll kind of throw in on that is sometimes it doesn't have to be the most fantastically produced or polished video.
No, it really doesn't.
The information in there is the gem. So
it's golden, and that's what I'm talking about with Sean. And Sean did a great job with the video. It's just, if you're looking for, I don't know, a Giaco whatever video, you're just not going to get it with this. So you're going to get instructions on how to do something, and it's going to help you out. Yeah, so check it out.
Definitely. What about you, Jamie? You doing anything? In fact, I know what you've been doing. You've been using a router, haven't you?
Yeah, you can shut up.
Tell us all about that then, Jamie.
Well, my mum basically decorates cakes as a hobby, and someone brought round probably about 4 or 5 inches thick log, and the person that they got it from basically said it was flat, and it was nowhere near flat. It was probably about half inch out on one side, and rather than stand there with a plane, I thought I'm gonna have to build a router flattening jig, and I was like, Richard's gonna love this. I'll take a picture.
Did a little part of your soul just fade away?
Yeah, it kind of I kind of threw up in my mouth a little bit as I was making it.
Excellent.
But yeah, I've started doing the Queen portrait now, so I've drilled holes in the Queen's head and the police ain't turned up yet, so
let's crack on with that. Excellent.
But what am I watching? I'm watching Andrew McQuillan. He's done I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right. It's a Game of Thrones project. It's the Ulse thing, I think it is. Is it Stark Sigil?
Sigil,
yeah.
That. I don't know. I don't watch Game of Thrones. Sorry, Richard.
But but no. Let's go back, because Andrew, this is a brand new channel. Andrew just launched this channel.
Yeah, it is. And him and I can't think of his name now. It was Joe shout out the other not so long ago. The gun that made the shed. They were having that's it. They were having a conversation on Facebook, and it seems Andrew was challenging me to a scroll saw contest. So maybe you can look out for that. But Andrew's only got 19 subs at the moment, and I'd like to change that.
And I think I'm right in saying this is a scroll sawn Stark Sigil, isn't it? The black and the white.
Yeah, it is.
With the scroll saw, the compound angle cuts.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to be a very, very fair contest, because we've both got exactly the same scroll saw as well.
Awesome. I'm going to stick my neck out here and probably put my foot right in it because I've got that scroll saw as well, so I can see this going further down. I can see this opening the floodgates.
Right, I'm going to say Richard should get involved as well then.
Dirty feet, Richard.
Yeah,
you got
this
dirty
is
feet?
where. This is why. Yeah, go on then. We'll do something. Why not?
I actually have a scroll saw, and Jamie didn't break it.
I know. It's good.
That's amazing.
Hey, Jamie, is it a nice scroll saw?
Yeah, it is
This
a
is
nice
fun
scroll
all
saw.
along.
Very nice scroll saw. Chad has got Mike Fulton's old DeWalt 788. So yeah, it's a very nice scroll saw. I actually respected that scroll saw.
Knowing you went and gave it a big hug.
Yeah.
That's
I
as
don't even want
opposed
to know
to
what he did to it.
as opposed to the
Yeah.
lathe that he had that you broke.
Don't know what he did, but the Dutch port doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, you know, he's 50-50.
Yeah.
So here's the giveaway for next week.
That's amazing.
Blue
Awesome.
Makers
So
International. So
we'll-
hey,
It is.
I
we'll
want you
give
guys to take a poll. On
Okay.
these giveaways, do people want just Makers International on it, or would they be offended if I filled the backside with my logo?
I think you should put your logo on there as well.
Definitely.
Well, take a poll. Get some feedback.
All right, we'll
I'd like
do
to know.
it. But Chad,
Take
I
a
think if you're giving it away and you're footing the bill, then brother, put your logo on there. I mean, come on.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I totally agree.
I could always put it on the bottom.
No, put it on the side. Put it on the other side.
Yeah, let people see it. You could put on the bottom like a special edition number, and then it would.
Yeah.
I could do that. Absolutely. Good idea.
Yeah.
Or you could just put Jamie Page's logo on the very bottom of it. That way,
Yeah. That's even better.
that way nobody would ever see it.
That'll never happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you could do like a serial number, like Tony does with his planes and his squares.
All right, Richard, let's go, man.
That would be awesome. Okay. Well, apparently I'm doing a scroll saw video at some point soon, so I guess people might want to be looking to watch that. But I think that definitely
You do a scroll saw video, I'll do a router video.
it's a deal. I don't know what I'll do, but we'll work something out. Cool. Okay. That definitely. Sorry, Joe. Ow, Joe. Just close your eyes. I think that pretty much wraps up the show. Where can everyone be found? Chad, where can people find you? That's the important one.
YouTube, just search ManCrafting in YouTube. It's actually Bugman Chad. ManCrafting TM, Instagram ManCrafting, Twitter ManCrafting. I'm everywhere.
Excellent. Okay. Well, no one else gets a chance to plug their channels. If you want to know where the rest of us are, you'll have to go and find us on our various places. But in the meantime, I've been Rick Morley. You can find me at brainfizz.uk. Chris, we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Take care.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Joe.
7 days.
Hi, Joe.
You're right, Samia.
Stop. It hurts.
7 days.
I'm sorry. For people listening on SoundCloud and iTunes, we're playing with our cameras and giving you way too much of a close-up. Anyway, Chris Cute, Facebook, Chris Cute, YouTube. That's it. Me. Bye-bye.
Jamie?
You can find me on YouTube at JP Woodwork, Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork, and all our social medias at makersinternationalpodcast.com, not makerscentral.co.uk.
Joe?
All my info is on makersinternational.com, so check it out there.
Wicked. Okay. Well, we'll see you all here next week, hopefully. Chad, thanks so much for coming on. You are an absolute legend, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.
Catch you later, guys.
See you next week.
Have a 7 days.